We are live. So, welcome to episode 153 of An American Werewolf in New Jersey. I am the American Werewolf. We're here today for another afternoon show with Sydney from Cinema City's YouTube channel. So, thank you for taking the time once again to pop by and talk some upper level horror today.
Oh, it's going to be fun.
I appreciate it.
It's going to be fun.
Yeah, this idea of yours for afternoon shows that creates a lot more agreement in terms of availability and time is working out well. I enjoy, having like an afternoon show, and people are just kind of scrolling through the YouTube, so on and so forth, and stopping. Hey, you're here in the afternoon, and it sort of motivated me to create these random sort of streams. Like I'll just, steal some movies from my dad because, he just won't watch them. I've piled Blu-rays and DVDs that have been sitting there for decades and he just refuses. So he's like, just take the damn thing. So I'm like, hey, I got this and I got this, or I'll do some sort of thing in the middle of the day now. It's a good avenue. So we are 11 days into the new year. And that means that 2022 isn't that far in the rearview mirror, so to speak. And the larger part of the horror community for 2022 is basically covering things like, waiting 10 months for the Halloween movie, this sort of thing. And then a week later, it was gone. And then there was, these seem to be the big hits. And then there was the Terrifier phenomenon, which I kind of respect. It's a DIY project. I think it was made on a couple $100,000, but I'm glad it made like $10 million. I think it made more than that. It made a lot of money. And so, I appreciate the DIY, mantra and, philosophy, alternate economies, media streams, whatever. But they aren't the things that I would cover on this channel. And luckily enough, there have been, and I think the top level horror movies of 2022 were released, and I've talked about a few of them. This happens to be one of them. And I'm talking about Mark Mylod's. Is that how you pronounce his name?
I think so.
Mark Mylod's The Menu. And so if you're ready to go, should we get it going?
Let's go.
Boogie woogie. So a quick channel announcement. We're also currently streaming on Twitch, and hopefully within the next 24 hours, I'll have full access to Rumble also, because YouTube has just been a real pain in the ass for the past couple of weeks. I even got a copyright claim on a trailer reaction that they absolutely, like everybody was doing a trailer reaction for the new Evil Dead. So I'm like, wow, okay, I hadn't seen it before. Let me look at the trailer, and immediately got hit with a claim, and they refused to take it off. So yeah, I'm going to start looking at. YouTube works, but I'm going to be looking at other avenues as well. So you and I, if I remember correctly, we initially connected over Ray Fiennes.
Yes,
we started talking about The English Patient. And, Fiennes, for me, The English Patient, I kind of discovered that in college because Undache was introduced to me senior year as part of a class. And so, I was like, oh, somebody else, Anthony Minghella, these sorts of things. And then we started, we had a brief Twitter conversation about it, this, that, and the other. And then, I just kind of, hey, do you want to come out on the show? But here we are now, again, talking about Ray Fiennes, who to me is just one of the best actors out there.
Oh, I've always loved him. I swoon. I love him.
We had Julia last night from over in the UK, and when I mentioned Fiennes, she just went on for like 30 seconds about what a baby was, and you're just
Oh, he was. Oh my gosh. Love him so much.
Well, I mean, there's a lot to work with there. He's a major talent. Um, we talked about The English Patient, but you've got just great cinema there. He's just got a great filmography. The Constant Gardener.
Quiz Show, Schindler's List, The End of the Affair.
Yeah. What else have we got?
Voldemort.
Yeah, he's part of James Bond.
Yeah, that's right.
He's M in James Bond. We covered one of his films, and one of my favorites, Red Dragon.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
He plays Francis Dollarhide. He's a terrifying
I forgot about
horror.
that.
Yeah, he's a terrifying horror actor. He's got a few bones in horror. And
Strange Days.
Strange Days is another one with Tom Sizemore. Yeah, before he went off a cliff.
Yeah.
What else? With the Grand Budapest Hotel. We've got one of my favorites from the Merchant Ivory, one of the last of the Merchant Ivory products, The White Countess.
Oh, yeah.
With Natasha Richardson.
Right.
And, unfortunately, that was, one of her last projects, but that's just one of my all-time favorite modern films. It's
he's
fantastic.
great. He's great.
Yeah, just good stuff. Hold on a second. We got a comment here. Video Tasties, what's up? Thanks for stopping in. You're always here for our afternoon shows, saying good evening. And you've also got Anya Taylor-Joy. I don't know if it's Anya or Anna.
It's Anya Taylor-Joy.
Anya Taylor-Joy. She's definitely got that, Slavic sort of, look going on there. And I remember I was introduced to her from Robert Eggers' The Witch.
Yes, she's really good at that. And The Queen's Gambit.
The Queen's Gambit.
Yes.
She was also in M. Night Shyamalan's film Split. With James McAvoy. She was one of the girls. She was the main character along with McAvoy, who was a hostage. And she was most recently before this movie in The Northman. Yeah. Robert Eggers' other film. And she was one of the Slavic girls who was taken, prisoner and, ended up being the love interest.
She's also in one of my favorite films of 2021, Edgar Wright's Last Night in Soho.
I didn't see that.
Which is also a horror film.
Is it really?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know it was a horror film. Oh, maybe I'll take a look at it. Maybe that's something we can cover sometime.
I love that movie.
Okay. All right. Let's take a look. So we've also got a director that I don't have a great deal of background with, Mark Mylod, but he's got quite a directorship in terms of series. I'm looking at Succession, and I know it's a very highly acclaimed show, but I haven't watched it. I haven't, with The Menu, obviously, got some amazing stories in there, but Shameless, another one that was supposed to be very good, I didn't see. Game of Thrones, of course, everybody knows that. Entourage, not really my thing. United States of Tara, these sorts of things. But an actor or a director who, seems to have some, respectable bones, putting together a great cast, a great film, great script, just great stuff. Tell me, was this your first time watching it for the purposes of the show?
Well, you sent me a message about let's watch The Menu, and I think the night before, I almost just put it on, scrolling through, looking for a movie to watch, and I hadn't. So I'm like, okay, let's do The Menu. Didn't know anything about it. I'm so glad. Glad I didn't know anything about it. Yeah.
It's just to be, you sit down and you enjoy it, without any spoilers. And it is cinema. To me, I have the 3-tier system where it's spam content and then entertainment, and then we get into cinema. And this is great. Great stuff. It starts out with Anya Taylor-Joy, and oh God, who's the other guy in there? I can never remember his name. He played
Nicholas
the Beast.
Hoult.
Nicholas Hoult. And there are these. At first, I thought they were a couple. just kind of hanging out, and he's taking her to this big dinner experience, some theatrical dinner experience, or he's taking her to a fancy restaurant.
Right.
And you see that all of these people that are getting, like, you need a boat ride to go over to this island where the dinner is being held. So you get the impression it's very exclusive. But right away, I picked up on the fact that it was just filled with a lot of pompous people.
Yeah.
Like, okay, these people are kind of, they're very aware of how important they, quote unquote, important they are, whether you've got food critics or, maybe some, douchey business people, maybe hedge fund managers or whatever you want to call it. You've got a washed up actor played by John Leguizamo and his assistant of sorts. And then you've got Nicholas Hoult and Anya Taylor-Joy, $1,200 a plate, $12.50 a plate, these sorts of things, going over to this island. And right away you pick up on the fact that something's not right here on the island when they meet the greeter, whose name I can't remember either.
Elsa.
Elsa,
Yeah,
played by Hong Chow.
Yeah.
And they are just having this big dinner ensemble thingy, kind of, sort of. And they go on this tour of the island. Everything is very expensive and very fancy, but it's not a good feeling. What were you thinking at this point?
I just thought they were all very pretentious, and I kind of loved how the script was very over the top with how pretentious everything was and how sort of self-absorbed and self-important all these people were. It was great. Yeah. And then Elsa, you immediately get the sense that she is, I'm very dedicated to her boss.
Yeah.
And the whole entire experience. So, like, my first cue that something might be off is when she takes them to the dormitory room.
Oh, yeah.
So they're doing a tour of the island. They see, like, this whatever is grown here, and this meat is aged for so many days, like
152 days.
152 days.
Yes.
And then they go to a dormitory, and this is where all the staff sleeps, and it's just like rows of beds and then like open toilets.
It's rows. This always, for some reason, this always gets me. It's rows of twin beds.
Yeah.
There are all these little solitary twin beds. It almost looks like a barracks, like a military barracks, and it's very much run in a sort of military kind of thing, in a military kind of way, where everybody just kind of moves in lockstep. There's no questioning of anything. There's only, what is to be done. It's very beautiful. It's extremely beautiful, but the barracks don't look like anybody lives in them. And I'm just like, okay, this is kind of off. I'm sure that there were a couple of other things. Oh, yeah, you also find out that Nicholas Hoult doesn't know his date's name, Margot.
Yeah.
Because she's a replacement. And so, what did you say her name was? The host?
Elsa.
When they do the greeting on the dock, oh, you're Mrs. No, she's not. Ms. Westervelt. She's Ms. West. No, I'm not Ms. Westervelt. And then she's like, oh, and like I couldn't quite figure out who Anya Taylor-Joy was.
Right. And also the fact that Elsa was so sort of put off, like, okay, so like at a restaurant, oh, well, big deal. I brought somebody else.
Who cares?
But you can tell it was a big deal. It was.
Yeah. There was a very long and uncomfortable pause where she just kind of keeps looking, like she's calculating, how to handle this, how to address the issue. And then you find out that he doesn't even know his date's name.
Right.
And you would think, like, you would think this would be a major red flag, but she sort of brushes it off. And I'm just like, what the hell is going on here? So they go on the tour. To me, it had sort of very much a cultish kind of vibe.
Very much.
Going on there. I mean, because we've all, I'm sure, watched the kitchen shows like Hell's Kitchen, where everybody, it's kind of like hell on earth, because, Ramsey's like yelling, and people are running all over the place, but it's not like this here. It's very even, it's almost like everybody's medicated, and it's kind of a disturbing sort of setup. And Nicholas Hoult is just obsessed with the whole experience.
Yes. He is very fanatical.
Yeah. Whereas everyone else is kind of, okay, we're very important and we're here. And his date is kind of like a regular person. She's like the relatable character in the movie. She's like whether you're a woman or a man, she's, like the every person. She's just a regular person going to a really fancy restaurant, but she's not intimidated by it or anything. She's like, I'm the customer, let's eat, these sorts of things. But then you get to the restaurant and it's just this kind of beautiful but spare setup in there. And you start to meet the chef, played by Ralph Fiennes. And there was a time in this movie where I actually thought, because you don't understand who he is. You understand he's the head chef. He's the executive chef of the restaurant. And it's a very fine restaurant, and it's very beautiful. And, obviously, it's the highest standards. You're doing like some 7-star experience here. But there was a time in this film where I honestly thought he was the devil.
Oh,
that's what I thought was happening here, and I'm like, oh,
you're like, okay. Have all these people gone to hell?
Yeah, well, or like, Ralph Fiennes is, portraying, doing a devil's advocate or an angel heart, where he's just come up to claim a couple himself.
Yeah.
This kind of thing, because he's just so, there's a distance in his performance. Or it just seems like he's wearing some sort of mask. There's not a like a tangible humanity in his effect.
Yeah.
With this,
it's very cold. It's very cold.
Yeah. So I mean, what were you thinking at this point?
It's you know what? It's passionless. That's what it is.
Yeah, it's devoid of any warmth.
Mm-hmm.
It's devoid of any sort of warmth. Another thing that put me off, and maybe this is just me, I'm not into presentation food. If you give me cheeseburger and, onion rings, I'm happy. You put it in front of me, I'm fine. I don't know about you, but this, and I will say this, although I'm not into presentation food, the shots of the food were incredible.
Oh, let me tell you what I just found out before we went on.
Yeah, sure.
So, because I was thinking the same thing. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is like watching a food show. Turns out the second unit director is the guy who directs that Chef's Table show. They hired him to do all the food shots.
Oh, did they really?
Yes.
Because I mean, look at this. That's incredible. That's incredible.
So I was like, this looks like a food documentary. That's why. And the food looks absolutely amazing.
Not my thing necessarily, and it certainly doesn't look like you're going to be overly full.
Oh, definitely not.
It's one of those things where you're going to get a little taste here and a little, but what he tells them is that, these are the raw, there were so many great lines in the script. These are the raw, it's not, I think Nicholas Hoult says this. It's not like painting or anything else. What you're creating art with are the raw materials of life itself.
Yeah. And that's why I understand the plating, because your food is your materials for the art that you're creating, but it's also the art that you're consuming. So I totally understand that, and it's beautiful, but it's not going to fill you up. Obviously, there's different reasons for. I guess there's different reasons for certain kinds of food, and this food is like a visual feast as well as like something to just taste and experience with your mouth, as opposed to like eating to be full.
Right. It's not a meatball parm that we're talking about here, but. I mean, there's also something that's required, which is, not something that everyone has, which is a very refined palate. You have to be like, because there's all these separations in the description.
Yeah.
When the food is being served, and you're just, would you even, it reminds me of that movie Sideways, where they're always, they're talking about wine. And the one Thomas Hayden Church is just like, it tastes good to me, and he's just into downing the wine. But the Giamatti is all about, sniffing and, separating these different, tastes and, whatever he can pick up, with the olfactory senses. And, it's obvious that in Sideways, not everybody had it, but also in this film.
I think this film sort of, so Thomas Hayden Church's reaction, be like, oh, this is good, is what's missing from the diners in this film. And I think that's Chef's point, is like, they're there to take the Instagram picture. They're there to say, I went to Hawthorne. Hey, bro, I spent this money.
Yeah.
There's no appreciation of the actual meal that you're being served or the work and creativity that went into creating the meal. It's a clout thing. Yeah. And I think that's part of why he's passionless. It's because now it's like you're serving food to these people who actually don't care about the food.
Yeah. Yeah, they care
except for Nicholas Hoult.
Right. The one person who actually gives a shit is the one person that Ralph Fiennes has absolutely no interest in whatsoever. It's the most ironic thing. Because most people care about who they see across the dining room, or what business deal they're going to cut here, or that one woman who's a food critic who just seems to, like a lot of critics, just sort of relish in bashing,
right?
These sort of things. So it's also this sort of thought that love has to be a two-way street, and so the cooks and the chefs, and the love that they put in the food, you would hope for something back from the patron, to, constantly keep the cycle going, to keep to keep the passion invigorated,
right.
For what they're doing. But these are absolutely the wrong people. These are like the worst of the absolute worst.
Right.
And, they're not, it reminded me a little bit of Hannibal Lecter. And what Brian Fuller did with some of those, because some of the food shots in there are just amazing. But they're just, you get the impression these are all awful people. And they're sort of all paled by Fiennes, because he steals pretty much every scene. He steals pretty much every scene in the film, telling them don't eat. It's fantastic. Instead of eating, taste. What else does he tell them? Relish. Savor. And you can see that's not like what John Leguizamo is doing.
None of them are doing that.
Yeah, they're just shoveling the food in their face. The husband and wife aren't talking to each other. Every time she tries to say something, you can tell something's off with him. And I don't know if you got this connection. And I'm sort of, no, it's not. When I was young, I grew up in a house and there was one television. And so if I came home from school and I wanted to watch TV, I was going to watch what my mom was watching. So I guess like many of us, I ended up watching a few soap operas when I was very young. And the wife of the philandering husband is a famous soap opera star, Judith Light. And I'm like, is that fucking Judith? Like, I still remember that from when I was like 8 or 10
Yeah,
years
she was
old
on
or
Who's the
something like.
Boss. Remember Who's the Boss?
Oh, that's right. Yeah, she was on Who's the Boss. Yeah, well, I go back a little bit further than that because I'm like 77 years old. So, and I remember I'm like, all right, I'll watch it for like an hour and then I go outside and play or something like that. But and I'm like, holy shit, that's Judith. Like, I haven't seen her in years.
Yeah, she's been in some good stuff lately, although I can't think of any off the top of my head. But also, that couple had been to the restaurant like, what, 11 times? Something ridiculous like that.
Yeah, and he couldn't remember when he gets quizzed. He can't remember one thing.
Yeah,
he ever ate, and she tries to help him, and no, even she gets it wrong. I thought she was going to be able to save him a little bit, but no. She was in the ballpark in that they had fish, but they couldn't remember what it was. Right. And I guess, what do you think? I mean, do you think that no? Well, maybe at the highest levels. Maybe chefs kind of do think this way. I wonder.
I saw an interview with a chef talking about this movie, and she said that she could relate to Chef Slovic from The Menu, and it was kind of scary. It was kind of scary.
Awesome. That's awesome. I'm gonna have to buy this like on Blu-ray with like all the behind the scenes. Oh, that's fantastic! Really?
Yeah, but I mean, I guess it's like because they don't see themselves as like, I'm cooking food. It's I'm creating art here. Like food is my medium to create an art form. Like
this isn't a short order cook. Cooking a burger and fries. Chili is the special. That kind of thing. Right,
and this is like high level creativity. So I guess like the madness of the artist, the mad artist, she can relate to. I mean, I don't think she's going to.
Let's hope not. Let's hope not. Yeah, let's hope not. I don't want to see that on the 6 o'clock news.
Right, but she can relate to this, I guess.
I imagine, there probably are resentments happening in there. And so, Elsa leans over to the, I think the hedge fund people and tells that one guy, you'll eat less than you desire and more than you deserve. And that's when that the fix is in. Yeah. When I first saw this, I thought it was going to be a movie about cannibalism or something like that. Like we were going to go Titus Andronicus, and you found out that they were like eating, people.
Right, like in the smokehouse, it's people meat.
yeah, that's really what I thought it was, and it's nothing like that at all. But you can feel, but before it really hits the fan, you can just feel the tension underneath the surface.
Yeah, I think when the bread scene or the bread course comes out. No, the breadless bread course.
Yes.
So when he comes out and he makes a speech about the bread and how they're not peasants, so they don't get bread, he brings out the spreads and things for the bread, but no bread. Yeah. I think that's when I'm kind of like, okay, so this is going to be different. And all of them are, you see how everyone's reacting. I love that Nicholas Hoult is just like eating the sides like it's soup. He doesn't care that there's no bread. He's just like, I will take the sauces and the dips and everything else like on the side. But then, you see the business people like, well, do you know who I am? I want bread.
Yeah. Yeah. Everybody starts to show their ass a little bit here. Yeah. But Nicholas Hoult is, I guess he's some sort of social climber. Like he wants to be in these people's company. He wants to be in this chef's company. We'll get to that in a little bit.
You mean like the people as in like the restaurant, not the people in the workers.
Yeah, he wants to be in that. Yeah, he wants to be in that crowd.
Yeah, he is the actual person who likes the food in the restaurant.
Yeah, but he's about 10 years too late.
Yeah, and he's one of those people that talks about food like they're food experts. Yeah. Like, oh, you have to taste this part and this goes with this and it's a subtle hint of this or whatever that get on your nerves if you eat out with them.
Yeah. That's typically why you'll find me at the onion rings and a meatball sandwich store, that kind of thing. And then it really starts to hit the fan because you're right. I mean, and they're serving like these microscopic servings of like the whatever you would dip the bread into. It's not even like you know, an amount of anything that's worthwhile. You know, you almost have to, they're so small. It's like these little dots or something, you know. And I'm like, are you supposed to use your finger, like dip your pinky in it or something? I don't know how to eat this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But then the tortillas come out. And the tortillas, I thought, what did you think when you saw when they started serving
the tortillas? I think right before the tortillas, so there's this one moment where the food critic is like, "Oh, the sauce is broken."
Yeah, it's separated.
It's the sauce separated. So she's like going on and on about that, and then Elsa brings her an entire huge soup bowl of broken sauce. Yeah, or separated sauce, and then I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
And then the tortillas come out, and you kind of like, and the tortillas are basically, there's printed on the tortilla, I guess they're secrets, maybe.
They're secrets, they're wrongdoings.
They're wrongdoings.
And that's what I like. I was just like, is he the devil or something? Like he's just, you know, come up to claim people or whatever this is. You know, you've got the one guy, he's there at the table with another woman. You've got the business people who are trading, you know, false, you know, making, you know, false business claims. Everybody's, you know, dirty little secrets are laser printed on this bread. And I'm like, I've never seen a film like this before. Just fantastic stuff. And that's when people start to react. It starts to get kind of reactive. And, you know, you kind of find out that, you know, these people are prisoners.
Yeah.
Like, they can't leave. They can't leave. I think at that point, Nicholas Hoult, doesn't he turn, he like snaps on his date and calls her a child, and he starts cursing at her.
Well, didn't she like, she said something to the chef, right? Or she wanted to speak to the chef.
Send it back, send it back or something like that. And he just freaked out because, you know, it's all about him. And then, you know, the bread comes, and so I think she slaps him or something like that. Or I can't remember exactly what. But he Ray Fiennes instantly figures out that she doesn't belong there. You know, he keeps asking her who she is. And of course, it turns out that she's an escort. She's an escort, and she got invited by Nicholas Hoult because I guess he made reservations for 2, and he's too afraid of, you know, altering the reservation in any kind of way.
Yeah, his girlfriend, like he said, broke up with him.
Yeah, his girlfriend broke up with him, so he needed this, you know, +1. He had this +1 situation, so he just invited an escort to go.
But isn't that weird? That's so weird. Like, why wouldn't you bring your friend? Bring your friend. Bring your mom. That's when I was kind of like, why?
Well, we find out, of course, that he's known for 8 months that all of these people are going to die.
Right.
And so I guess he just brought someone he thought was disposable.
Right. Prior to learning that, though, that's when I was kind of like, why wouldn't you just bring a friend?
Right.
You know?
Right.
Why?
And that's when you find out, I mean, you know, not every little, you know, bit of the movie here, but you find out that everyone there is going to be killed.
Yeah.
Everyone there is going to be killed, and that the entirety of the kitchen is in on it. And they're all just in lockstep. And for one reason or another, people are going to be picked off a little bit at a time. You've got the mess. Hold on a second. We've got, hey, my chunky Jordy saying, hey, what's up? Hey, thanks for stopping in. I appreciate it. And we're talking The Menu here. One of the best horror movies of the year, as far as I'm concerned. Just a great story. You've got the mess where he brings that one, you know, smaller level chef out and gets him to shoot himself.
Yeah, and then you're like, okay, they're a cult.
Yeah. Yeah,
Well, our
they're
cult, they have exhibit cult-like behavior towards
yeah.
the chef. Like the chef is their leader and they will do whatever he says.
Yeah, because well, I imagine you get the impression that they all feel the same way. So
Yeah.
maybe the chef that you saw the interview with, could have been picked up by Fiennes at some point or something like that, and they're like, you're right. Let's kill all of them. And it sort of becomes this prisoner situation as people continue to be picked off. The one chef blows his brains out in front of everybody. The one guy who's philandering, and I think he's been with Anya Taylor-Joy before, gets his ring finger cut off.
Mm-hmm.
The guy who runs the hedge fund is sort of draped outside for everyone to see and just lowered into the water until he drowns.
But it's important to note that the guy who owns the hedge fund also owns the restaurant. He was he was sort of holding back, I guess, chef's creativity.
Yeah.
And making demands on him that he didn't feel that were truthful to his art or whatnot. So he had to go.
That's probably, I mean, let's look at it as if it were writing, and someone, you wrote something, or, even if we were writing something for one of our channels and then someone came along and said, no, you can't say that. And you'd be like, fuck off.
Yeah.
It's mine, it's my idea. You have no part in any of it. Who are you to tell me, these sorts of things? Like, I can understand that, not to the point of wanting to kill everybody.
Right.
Don't misunderstand me, but yeah, I get it. And he says, I've been fooled into trying to satisfy people who can never be satisfied.
Yeah, and that's everyone in the restaurant except for the staff. And
all of those customers, because they don't give a crap. One lady's perfectly fine to gleefully bury people's careers, with a bad review. Doesn't care, doesn't impact her in the least. All of them are, I wouldn't even say amoral. They're pretty immoral.
Yeah, they're shitty people.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, he's going to go out with a bang. And, I thought one of the interesting things about it was that all the chefs planned to die as well. That was it. Like, they had no illusions about getting away with it or just killing all these people and then, having them disappear. It was just going to be this you've got a mass murder suicide going on in a 7-star restaurant on a remote island. And it's just, it's fantastic. Again, you get and then they find Nicholas Holt's, his name is Tyler.
Tyler, yeah.
And
Tyler.
finally because I think Fiennes and Margot have the conversation in the bath, or he takes her out.
Yeah, he gives her a choice.
Yeah, he gives her a choice. Do you want to be with us or do you want to be with them?
A giver or a taker. He says, you want to be a giver or a taker.
And that's where she sort of discloses that, she's an escort and she was with that one man who was just awful, having fantasies about his daughter.
Yeah.
And so, and he says, I know what it is to have to deal with a bad customer. Because, maybe, certain things are acceptable, but then, there are some things that are just beyond the pale. And this guy has definitely been living in that, in that space, and I guess, bringing other people into it. And so, one of the things he has to deal with is Tyler, who's just this pompous, like we said, sort of social climber.
But he's also like fanatical about the chef and the restaurant and the food. So it's kind of weird because you have like the one guy there who actually is enjoying the meal, has paid this money and is glad to pay it and to have the meal given to him. But he's the chef calls him one of the people that's wrong with his industry. He's taken all the mystery away from everything. Yeah. But he doesn't understand it because he has him come in and try to cook something. He's like, okay, Tyler, you know all about food. You love all this stuff. I want you to come in and you're going to cook for us. Yeah. And he knows nothing about cooking.
He knows nothing. And what he does, well, you know, the thing about Tyler, and I thought this was interesting, he could have tried to make something simple.
Yeah, that is true.
He could have just tried to make something simple, but he's so busy trying to impress everybody. He starts off asking for shallots. And you're like, what? Like, you could have made fish and chips. Hey, the fryer's still on. Let's make some fish and chips. You know, you could have made, you know, anything. You know, you just could have grilled up a steak.
Yeah.
You know, steak and potato. You know, this kind of thing. But he's so busy. You know, he wants lamb and butter and, you know, all these, you know, fancy things. And he has no idea how to operate any of it. Here's my question to you. What happens to him? Does he run him off the island? Because he just disappears off the...
No. Oh, no. He hung himself.
Did he really?
Yeah, they show him later hanging, his feet hanging, and Margot finds him.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Yeah.
Okay, I must have like turned away for a second because I've wondered the whole movie. He whispers something to him, and it just must have been "kill yourself."
Yeah, and then he goes and doesn't. He goes and does that with his necktie.
Yeah, he's so impressionable, and he's so dependent on everyone else's approval that if someone tells him to go kill himself, and clearly that's exactly what he's going to do. And I love that the course was called Tyler's Bullshit.
Yeah.
Tyler's Bullshit.
But Tyler already knew he was going to die. So he went on the island already knowing. So he was already in the mindset of like, I'm going to do whatever this chef tells me to do.
It didn't occur to him that the chef would turn on him. I think he thought that he and the chef were friends or something like that.
Yeah, he says they like communicated over via email for months.
Yeah, 8 months.
Yeah.
Like 8 months putting this together. Mm-hmm. And wow, I mean, that's a fucking sycophant.
Yeah.
That's a sycophant. And then you get John Leguizamo, who's also another piece of shit. You know, he's sleeping with his assistant. He won't let her go. You know, he's bad mouthing and, you know, like her job referral, so she can't leave him. You know, she's stealing money from him. And he's also maybe, and I've always, I've heard this about actors, that their biggest fear is irrelevancy.
Yeah.
And they're always, you know, so petrified of becoming irrelevant. And that clearly is the case with his character. You know, he's always trying to cash in on this, you know, a little, recognition here and there, you know, pretending he doesn't want it, so on and so forth. And then Ray Fiennes deals on him for that shitty movie he made, Calling Dr. Sunshine. Calling Dr. Sunshine. And you're just like, you know, I used my one day that I had off to be a free person to see your movie. And it was awful. You know, so you've got people who are just not actors for the art, but maybe actors for the fame.
Yeah.
You know, so everybody's got this really fatal flaw that has just led Ray Fiennes to this point. And then I guess Margot starts to get the idea that there may be a possibility to escape when he sends her out to get the barrel. So hold on. I would never eat at a chef's table as you don't get fed enough. Same with those star-rated restaurants. Okay. So I mean, from there, she starts to maybe formulate a plan, and she is the only likable person in the whole film. So she starts to formulate a plan, maybe to escape. She ends up killing Elsa. Do you think that the chef planned to have Elsa killed that way? Because Elsa tells Margot, I didn't forget the barrel. He never told me. Do you think he set that up?
I was thinking about that, and he's too clever to not have set it up.
Yeah. Maybe that was just his way of getting rid of Elsa without telling her.
I mean, maybe he thought either way, one of them wasn't going to come back.
Yeah, somebody wasn't coming back that way. Yeah, that's true. That's true. And she discovers something when she gets into his home, which I actually thought was a really fucking cool place. I mean, it didn't exactly look lived in. It looked, like
Someone that walked out in like 1994.
something like that. Didn't look lived in.
Yeah.
But it was obvious that he did live in it. And she finds all of his like different photographs from points in his life when he was younger. And she finds that one photograph, I guess, of what must have been his first job working just at a burger joint. And this, I thought this was important. It's simply a photograph of him flipping a burger. He's the employee of the month at some random burger joint.
Yeah.
And he looks happy.
Yeah, he's smiling.
He's smiling, and he's just, he's serving burgers and fries and, just, having a good old time and probably, laughing it up with other people, so on and so forth. And, I mean, did you think that I'm seeing if I can find a picture here? Because, I mean, you look at this guy here, that guy does not look happy.
No.
Like you said, it looks like just all the life has been drained out of him. And that's how she kind of figures out the plan on how possibly to turn the tide on him. And I thought that this was a really clever piece of writing where she goes back into the restaurant and she wants to send the food back.
Yeah. She's hungry.
Yeah, she's hungry. And she starts telling him, you're present, all this presentation, deconstruction bullshit. People want to be fed. And that there's no love in the food. And I just thought this was a great exchange between the two of them. Well, what do you want? What do you got? I got everything. And she just goes, I want a cheeseburger
with American cheese.
Well, you could see the look on his face. She knew exactly what she said to him as she triggered that memory from what must have been 30 years ago.
Yeah.
And like, I remember the captioning and the subtitle said, yeah, I can get you a cheeseburger, but the way he emotes it, he's like, yeah, we can get it. He almost doesn't know how to respond to that.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, cheeseburgers need American cheese. The cheese doesn't separate. That's the best cheese for American cheese. I'll make you the best cheeseburger you've ever had. The one that your parents could barely afford, back when you were a little kid, this kind of thing. And I just think, how much is that going to set me back? $9.95. And she's just like, I'll take a cheeseburger. Does that come with fries? Is the fryer still on? Yeah, we can come up with some fries. You want a crinkle cut or a julienne. Okay, And he just proceeds to, and it looked like a fucking tasty burger. I'm having cheeseburgers tonight, actually, as a result of that.
I had a cheeseburger last night. I had one. Did you really?
Night. So, I mean, she takes a bite of it, and she's just like, I think my eyes were bigger than my stomach. Can I get this to go? And the whole room is just riveted by this exchange that's going on. You're like, is she going to actually? And yeah, he ends up letting her go. Puts it in a bag, puts it in a doggy bag, gives her a gift bag.
Yeah.
I thought that was great.
Yeah,
Here's a gift bag to go with it. Yeah, because he really doesn't want to kill her. Yeah. She hasn't done anything. Like, all of these things that are happening here are being done to these people for a specific reason.
She's not even supposed to be there.
Yeah, she's not even, and that's been a conflict and a thread throughout the entire film. She is not supposed to be there. She's just somebody who got invited to the restaurant by accident. So there's no rationale for killing her. And maybe he would do it and just kind of, throw her on the pile, while I'm piling it on, so on and so forth here. Right. But there's no actual reason to take her life. And so if there's an opening that, she kind of cracks his heart a little bit. She makes his heart open up just a little bit and enough to spare her life. and I thought it was a great piece of writing. That exchange. Hold on a second. I've not seen this, but reviews are good. Hopefully, it'll be released on home video in England. Okay, I should have said this at the beginning. And right now, this is streaming on HBO Max. If you have HBO Max, that's where you can watch it. Or I'm sure, any Amazon or anything like that, you can probably rent it for $3.99 or whatever.
It's still in the cinemas here.
Yeah,
yeah.
I saw that.
It's playing. I saw yesterday it was playing at my local, and I was like, oh, I didn't even know that. If I had, I probably would have gone to the movies to see it.
It would have been worthwhile to see.
Yeah.
It would have been worthwhile to see in the theaters. I mean, because the shots and the cinematography are because a lot of the film just takes place in that one room.
Yeah.
In the dining room, there's maybe 20 minutes, where you start to meet the characters and everybody's kind of introduced and you get some impression of what they're about, and then they do the tour. And then after 20 minutes, almost the entirety of the movie is inside that restaurant.
Yeah, it's like a one set movie.
Yeah,
a little bit of leaving again for the barrel part, but mostly that's it. It's in that restaurant.
Yeah, and just to prove, I mean, he keeps reinforcing what awful people these people are. When he gives the men the option to leave, and they just all like husbands abandon wives.
Yeah.
Everybody's just people don't want to team up. The three friends aren't friends. Why are you running so close to me? Get away from me. You're piling up, this sort of thing. The one guy who's like the ass kisser, the enabler for the reviewer, he leaves her there.
The only person that didn't want to leave was Tyler, and Tyler didn't want to leave because he didn't want to miss any food. He just didn't want to miss the next course. He didn't care.
Yeah,
but he made him go.
We should. I mean, I feel like we're sort of glossing over a lot here. There's a lot of comedy in this.
Oh yeah, it's funny. It's really funny. It's darkly funny, but it's great.
Yeah, I mean, there's some hysterical scenes where like she gets called into the kitchen, and he's like, them or us. And then she comes back, and Tyler's like, did you get an extra course? Oh, you, of all people, you'd get a fucking extra course. I don't get anything. He just keeps slamming the food down.
He's so mad at her.
it doesn't even register with him that he's going to die.
No, well, when the sous chef commits suicide, he's just slurping his stuff. He doesn't even care.
No, because he's crazy. All he cares about is that he's in the company of these people. Yeah. It's batshit. It's absolute batshit. But I mean, it's a great piece of writing because it is horrific. Now, as a rule, I don't like horror comedies, but this is another thing entirely. This is funny and horrific because in my mind, horror comedies are usually just comedies that sort of have a whatever kind of horror, as the basis for the story. This actually combines both. Because I mean, just in looking at, who these different people are, they're all just awful people.
Yeah.
The one guy fantasizing about his daughter and then acting it out with a proctor. I mean, it's awful. I mean, you see gun violence and the one guy kills himself. Yeah. And that's awful. But I mean, it's just looking, at the characterization.
Well, I think they're so entitled, all of them. Their sense of entitlement. There's like self-importance. And I mean, it's one of those movies where it's like, eat the rich, literally.
Yeah, or kill the rich.
Kill the rich. Well, at the end, though, they become the food.
I want to get to that. So, I mean, he just, you represent the ruin of my art.
Yeah.
You represent the ruin of my life. And like a really good story, they all go up to, they're all, like I said before, they're all planning to die too. And then we get to the fire, and Margot leaves. I think her name is actually Erin.
Yeah.
Her name is Erin, and she's from like Boston or something, like someplace in Massachusetts or something like that. And then we get to the funniest line for me in the whole movie, where he serves the final course, the s'more. And he calls it the most offensive assault on the human palate ever contrived.
I laughed so hard at that.
Because the way he says it, it's just so deadpan. The most offensive assault on the human palate ever contrived. And that one critic lady, she's like dressed in s'more.
They put a chocolate hat. They put a marshmallow like cape over everyone.
Right, but she's about to die. She's crying because she's about to die, but she's nodding her head like it's awful. She's just nodding her head. You're absolutely right. The s'more is the worst thing of all time. Holy shit! And then, you know, he lights it up. Yeah, they all go up in flames, and well, there's some gas, so it's not.
Well, and also it's so beautiful when they're laying out the room as the plate, and they do an overhead shot.
Oh yeah,
of them like just laying the food, decorating the room, the final plate, which is the entire room, and it's like, oh my gosh, it's still really beautiful.
Yeah. It's amazing what you can make when you give a crap. Like when you take the time to invest in a great story.
Yeah.
And that's I mean, I'm coming up on 2 years with this show. It's what I've said from the day one. Give me a story. And this is just a wholly original story. And it makes me feel good that people are, especially in terms of the horror genre, because I consider this a horror movie. Even though, you know, it has definitely dark comedic elements, that, you know, people are still making things like this. You know, this cinema level kind of thing. It was nothing I'd ever seen before. And like we both said, we knew nothing about it going in. And I was thoroughly happy with myself.
Yeah, me too.
By the time it was over. Very, very good stuff. Maybe one of the best movies. I would say probably one of the best movies of 2022.
Oh yeah, I'll agree with that.
I'm sorry that I didn't get to it before that, but I actually hadn't noticed that it was a horror movie. I just figured it was some sort of drama or maybe some sort of comedy or something like that, and then it dropped to HBO, and I'm like, okay, you know, this is actually a horror movie. Okay. Yeah, let's look at this, and it's fantastic.
Yeah, I've seen the best 2022 movies at the end of 2022. Like I didn't like After Yang, I saw at the end of the year. The Banshees of Inisherin I saw at the end of the year. This I saw 2023. But there's so many good movies last year.
Yeah. After Yang was definitely one of them. What else was there? You Won't Be Alone was good. There were the Robert Eggers' The Northman. That was really good. I think as I continue with this channel, you know, although, you know, I was happy to do Dawn of the Dead because I consider that's just a great fun movie. And thank you for stopping in on the chat yesterday. But I think, you know, I'm going to be aiming, you know, even higher at, you know, the more upper level sort of niche horror films like this. They won't all be this good because, you know, that's the way things are. But yeah, people are still making cinema. And that's definitely a good thing. It's a shame. Have you heard about this? Have you heard about this getting any kind of awards or nominations or anything like that?
Not that I know of, although I think Ray Fiennes should be. The screenplay should definitely. I think the screenplay was nominated for the Golden Globes the other night. I'm not sure. Let me check. But I feel like Ray Fiennes should definitely be up there in the list because he was fantastic.
Yeah. This is again another quality performance from Fiennes. He never seems to get it wrong.
Oh, he was nominated for Best Actor. in a
Was he
drama.
really?
Yeah,
Okay, and he didn't get it.
he did it, and Anya Taylor-Joy was nominated too.
Okay, well deserved. Well
Yes.
deserved. She's another one. She doesn't seem to get it wrong. It's amazing how instantly she seems to have jumped onto the A-list.
Yeah, she's a great actress.
Yeah. But, you know, some people, it takes them a while to break through.
Mhm.
She seems to have started on the A-list. And maybe it was the casting in The Witch, Eggers The Witch,
Yeah.
that did it. She was just so damn good.
And those eyes in The Witch, like,
Yeah.
her eyes are just...
Yeah, and like her look is just odd. She's
Yeah.
got odd bone structure. And I saw somebody in Twitter, and they're like, you're going to say that this girl is from Boston with that bone structure? You're like, forget it. Like, nobody from Boston looks like that, you know? And, you know, there's a lot of controversy about her look. Some people find her super attractive.
Yeah.
Some people say she looks like, you know, like an alien or something like that.
I like her. I think I love it. I love a unique, different look.
Yeah. Yeah. And I've seen a few people who had it, and then I think, and I wasn't a huge fan, but I mean, we all knew her. There was Meg Ryan back in the day. She had like an odd look, although she did different types of movies. But then she altered her. She got like surgery done. She had work done, and it like ruined her career. I think the same thing happened with was it Jennifer Grey?
Oh yeah, she had her nose done.
Yeah, and she was gone. That it was that one thing that separated her from other people was the one thing that they changed, and you know their careers were just over after that. So I don't think there's going to be any of that with her. But I mean, she's only 26 years old. She's on top of the world. I saw she just got married because I follow her on IG. So yeah, so hopefully we'll be getting you know, a lot more good work out of her. Because she's had two great films in 2022, The Northman, and now this. Okay, so is there anything about the film that we missed that you'd like to cover? Anything?
I think just to point out that it is darkly comedic.
Yeah.
And twisted in its comedy. Like, you're gonna laugh if it suits you. That might not be your thing, but there are some really darkly funny moments that I was surprised. I was like, oh my gosh, that's hilarious, but so wrong.
If you're going to make a horror comedy, this is a really good template. Because it's accessible. One element doesn't overshadow the other.
Right.
The horror doesn't overshadow the comedy, and vice versa.
Yeah.
And so it's a perfect balance.
I love it. And I think that, you know what, if they wanted to make this into a stage play, they totally could. It would be amazing. It would be so good.
Yeah.
I kept thinking, I'm like, this would be a fantastic stage play. Because usually it's like the other way around. Like, they take this, put it in the movie for like a drama, not musical so much, but this would be great to transfer to the stage. It would be, I mean, could you imagine like the evening and the menu and the serving? It'd be so great.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be something. That would, maybe someday, you know, I'm sure someone out there right now is trying to adapt.
I know. What if it was immersive? An immersive stage play, like you go in and they sit you down at a table. Oh my gosh, that'd be fantastic.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. That'd be awesome. We'll have to keep our ear to the ground for that or something, because I'm sure somebody out there has got that idea. You know, some sort of restaurateur or you know, somebody out there is trying to get that going. Okay. We've come to the part in the show where we we rate the film. And we have a rating system that goes from 0 to 5, 0, 0.5, 1, 1.5, all the way to 5. 0, for example, being I'd rather spend a week in a sweaty shirt than watch this movie again. 5 being this is cinema. This is the highest level. This is why I opened the channel to begin with. What would you give The Menu?
Oh, I'm giving it 5. It was one of the best movies I've seen in a long time. One of the best of 2022. Loved it.
Yeah. I am in lockstep with you. Yes, Chef. I would give this 5. I gave Dawn of the Dead, you know, because that was just upper level entertainment. This is cinema. This is a wholly original idea. this is also what happens when you get the very best people, you know, in your casting. Fiennes, Anya Taylor-Joy, Nicholas Hoult, you know, even Leguizamo. Anybody could have kind of been Leguizamo, but Leguizamo plays a good douche, you know, which is kind of what he was doing here. You know, he was just kind of being an asshole. Just fantastic story, and like I said, the perfect balance of horror and comedy. 50-50 even. There are some genuinely horrific things that happen in here, and then there are some genuinely funny things. And like I said, the reason I don't like horror comedies as a rule is because the comedy always seems to be it's like 80% of it, you know. And even when something scary happens, it's not scary at all. You could feel the creep coming off of this restaurant. You can feel the creep coming off of Fiennes. Like when he walks into the bathroom and she's in there trying to smoke.
Mm-hmm. You're like, oh my God, watch.
He's gonna try to kill her. Like, I genuinely was like, holy shit. He's
I know.
Just
I
gonna go for it right here in the bathroom. Yeah. He's just gonna strangle her or something like that.
And you know what? I thought he's gonna kill her because she's smoking and she won't be able to taste the food.
Yeah, something like that. Man's Folly. When he talks about how he tried to sleep with his chef twice. And then just ignored her for 8 months. I guess his response to that. And then he tells her, you know, I'm sorry. And then I thought she stabbed him in a very bad place.
In the junk. Yeah, me too.
Yeah. And I'm like, oh my God. And I would have been like, that's so fucking bold, because they're going to kill him with 45 minutes left. You just killed your main character with 45 minutes left in the story, you know? So yeah, I mean, this movie gets it right. 5 stars.
Oh, we forgot the whole part with the Coast Guard.
Oh.
Which, I mean, I thought, you know, so Anya Taylor-Joy goes and when she goes to find that barrel or whatever, she also finds a radio and she radios for help. And then she goes back in, and then the Coast Guard arrives. But before he even comes in the room, one of the staff people is like, if you want him to live, you're just going to go along with it. And so everyone gets cleaned up and everything. And he comes in and he goes through this whole thing about, like, is everything okay? Is everyone all right? And everyone's pretending that they're okay. And then someone breaks, right? And they're like, no. Oh, no. He asked for an autograph from John Leguizamo.
Yeah.
Because he saw Calling Dr. Sunshine.
my wife and I love that movie. We love it. And you saw Fiennes' face. He's just like, you know?
Yeah. And so he asked for an autograph. And then the autograph comes back to him. And it says, we need help, or help us. So then there's this whole thing where he's like,
he's in a standoff.
Right. He's in a standoff. And then he goes over with his gun and then he lights a candle with it, and it's fake and it's all an act.
Yeah.
But the best part of that was the joke about calling Dr. Sunshine.
Yeah. Because I literally thought, I genuinely mean this, I thought they were going to swarm him.
Me too. I thought he was there for help.
Yeah, I thought that he was there for help. I thought that they were going to give him the bum rush. The knives were going to come out. Because somebody said something at one point. Hey, get a knife off the table. Unless they're like, do you think you're a better operator with a knife than these guys are? Yeah. You know, forget it. The one scene where the guy just runs and makes a break for it and tries to smash the window with the chair. Like, just unannounced, he just jumps up and he's trying to make a hole for everybody. It may be like the only somewhat selfless thing that's done by anybody in the restaurant the entire movie. And it's like this rubber kind of glass that it's unbreakable glass. It just bounces right off the. So I mean, yeah, suspense, tension, comedy, 5-star film.
Yeah,
5-star
really
film.
Good.
Yeah, can't get enough. All right, so I'll tell you what. What's coming up next for Cinema Cities? What do you plug something? Or have you just dropped something? Tell people about your tier system, or what you're thinking about.
What tier system?
The monetizing.
Oh, I'm not gonna do it.
Oh no!
I'm just gonna do a newsletter. And then it'll be like $3 maybe, whatever, monthly newsletter. Yeah. But I did. What did I just? Oh, I did my Twin Peaks video. I dropped it last week.
The series or the movie? Firewalk.
It's Fire Walk with Me, but it's more like a Laura Palmer thing.
Okay.
Looking at like Laura Palmer, the way David Lynch gives the audience Laura Palmer compared to the way that awful person who made that Marilyn movie gave us Marilyn Monroe.
What Marilyn movie?
That movie with, Blonde with Ana de Armas.
Did you see it? I don't know anything.
I saw it.
It's not good?
No, it's absolutely awful. It's probably the worst thing I saw last year.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Because I like her. I remember her from the last Bond movie.
Yeah.
She was in it for about 20 minutes.
Like, she's not bad, but the movie around her is bad.
It's not a biopic, is it? It's just like it's almost like a dramatization, like, you know.
It's based on a book that fictionalizes her life. So I just call it a fictionalization of a fictionalization.
Okay.
Yeah, but I did that last week.
Okay. So anything, are you still working, or you're not, it's a secret, whatever?
No, I hope I'm doing Lifeboat now, Hitchcock's Lifeboat.
Have you done? I still haven't watched it yet.
Yeah, I'm working on that video. Hopefully my plan is to have it Friday or Saturday, but today's Wednesday, so
and it's 2:00 in the afternoon.
It's 2:00, so we'll see. We're gonna. Yeah, I'm gonna plow through, but it should be done sometime this week before Sunday night.
Okay. All right. For this channel, I've got a couple things that I want to talk about, and I might do another live stream, maybe even 2 streams, or I might cover 2 different things that are happening. One is the new Ari Aster film is coming with Joaquin Phoenix, and I'd like to do a trailer reaction if I can avoid a copyright strike, because I haven't seen the trailer yet, and I am a huge Ari Aster fan. Hereditary is just one of my all-time favorite horror movies. I put it up there with The Exorcist. Have you seen it?
I've seen the Hereditary, yes, and I saw the trailer, but I'm not going to say anything else.
Okay, yeah, don't say anything. I wasn't so much a fan of Midsommar. It was okay. And I said at the end of the movie, he should have just broken up with her at the beginning of the movie, and he would have been just fine. But of course, he wanted to be a nice guy about it. So that's how that worked out. So I'm going to do that. And then this probably doesn't interest you, but I grew up as a lifelong professional wrestling fan. And that was actually my childhood dream, to be a professional wrestler, which obviously didn't happen. But I just found out that the WWE may be selling itself, may have just been sold to the Saudi investment group. Saudi Arabia might now own the WWE, which is actually a big thing in pop culture. That's not a small thing, and I'd like to do a little reaction on the articles about that, and maybe that today. So maybe those 2 things will go down later on today. My dad's coming over for a little bit to hang out, and then after that, maybe we'll do those sorts of things. I have to put together a platform for next week, and I haven't decided what I want to do yet. Are you up for another afternoon?
I should be free next week at the same time, same place.
Okay. Let's talk about it after the stream. Outside the stream. Okay, I'm going to shut it down from here. My thanks to Sydney from Cinema Cities, and I'll put the link to your channel in the description. We'll put it together again real soon. I'll talk to you outside the stream. And my thanks to everybody in the chat. This movie, again, is available on HBO Max right now, and it's actually still playing in theaters. And if you're a fan of cinema, non-CGI, bang 'em up, kind of, actual, people acting, this is worth a ticket. This is definitely worth a ticket. So go check it out. Hold on a second. We got one more comment. I used to be a cook in a pub. I love doing it, but I've also seen how chefs in hotels have been treated and how our chef feels. Okay, so hopefully this won't lead to any mass murders in culinary school or anything like a culinary cult out there like this. But thanks for stopping into the chat. Thanks to everybody again. And we'll see you in the next video. I'll be doing some streams later on today, maybe around 5 o'clock. Okay, all the best to everybody. Talk to you soon.